Hello, and welcome to Four Dudes Talking About U.S. History. This will be a multi-episode series with multiple seasons. This was our first season out of 3. This season, we will be talking about the Jazz Age. Our first lesson is about the politics of the 1920s.
So, what were the politics of the 1920s, and why were they so important?
Well, the reason the politics of the 1920s were so important is because the president at the time was a man under the name of Warren G. Harding.
Mm.
I've heard of him.
Now, he's important because he's very famous for his the scandals that went on under while he was a president. Now, he had some good appointments to his cabinet while he was president, but he also had some really bad ones. Bad because they were just old friends,
Right.
like unexperienced or anything like that, just old friends.
Was Calvin Coolidge good?
That comes later. He was vice president.
My bad.
And so, some of the scams that went on while he was president were from some of his buddies. A man under the name of Colonel Charles R. Forbes. Now, what he did was he took medical supplies from veterans hospitals and he'd sell them to people. He'd sell them out to the public. And instead of giving the money back to the hospital, he'd just keep it for himself, costing the public around about like $250 million.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of these medical supplies?
No, not at all. They're like very scarce things.
Ooh, I know that's a popular scam, but the most famous scandal, known as the Teapot Dome, began in the early 1920s. Harding's Secretary of the Interior, Albert B. Fall, secretly allowed private interests to lease lands containing U.S. Navy oil reserves at Teapot Dome, Wyoming, and Elk Hills, California. In return, Fall received bribes from these private interests totaling more than $300,000.
What?
300,000, that's a lot of money.
That is.
That's a lot.
There was even an investigation that launched that took most of the 1920s to complete, so a whole decade of research and investigating.
Huh. Wasn't there a
Does
third
it-
one?
Does anyone know what happened to Harding?
Well, fun fact, the secretary was the first to go to prison of all time.
Well, what happened to
Wow.
Harding?
What happened to Harding was he was, I can't remember what he was doing, but I think he was on a trip back from I think Alaska, I think it was.
Yeah.
He was going from Alaska to California, and I think, I'm not sure if he was on the plane or not, or if he was just traveling. I'm not sure where it was.
I think
If
he was on train.
On train?
Yeah, he was on a train, because it was in San
He
Francisco.
definitely was not on a plane yet. That is my mistake.
Yeah.
Planes weren't quite a thing yet. Anyways, so what happened was he became ill with something, and he had a heart attack, and he couldn't get to the hospital in time, and he died.
Oh, man.
It's truly tragic, but it's not a lot of scams.
Yeah.
True. And then Calvin Coolidge, who's a G, took the oath of office and became a president.
Oh, yeah.
And when Calvin Coolidge became president, he tried his hardest to distance himself from these scandals. Like, he wanted to get as far away from them as possible. And to do that, he adopted new policies and things like that. He asked the people that were like doing the scams and stuff, he took them out of office. And because of all this stuff that he was doing to get away from that and regain the trust of the American people, he very easily won the next presidential election.
Yeah. I heard he was pretty quiet, too.
Yeah.
As
As a matter of fact, it's
he didn't hold a lot of press conferences.
it was one of his like names, I guess, Silent
Yeah,
Cal.
Silent Cal. And Crick was even saying that he could he could speak silent in 5 different languages.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
how
Or
impressive!
something like that. I forgot.
Going along with all these policies that Coolidge adopted, what government policies helped the economy recover from the post-war recession?
Well, Andrew Mellon, who was a successful banker and industrialist, he was secretary under the Treasury under President Harding and the chief architect of economic policy. When he took office, he had 3 major goals. 1, to balance the budget. 2, to reduce the government's debt. And 3, to cut taxes. He argued that if taxes were lower, businesses would spend and invest their extra money, which is better. They make more, it really no need is. This would cause the economy to grow, and Americans would make more money, which who doesn't want that? The government then would make way more in taxes. This idea is now known as supply-side economics, which you hear about quite often.
You know, I heard you mention World War I before.
Mhm.
Now, during this time, the U.S. was a debtor nation, which means that all the Allied forces owed us money from us supplying them with war goods like food and weaponry. So the U.S. became a dominant economic power during the early 1920s.
So another very important topic was isolationism. So a lot of Americans thought we were isolationists, which is when your policy of avoiding involvement in world affairs. So which the U.S. kind of did, which we stayed out of war and stuff, but we had too much money in other countries to truly be isolationist. And if you think about it, we're kind of like that today, because isolationism split our country very much.
So is our country still pretty split between beliefs?
I'd say it is, because think about Republicans and Democrats. Very split down the middle. There's very topics that split our country.
Yep.
And our country's still split between, like, religion, race is still a big,
Absolutely.
So,
I think that moves us to our next topic.
anyways, related to the Dawes Plan, does anyone know what happened at the Washington Conference?
Yeah. So basically, what the Washington Conference was, it was like all the main powers that contributed to World War I, like Britain, France, Italy, Belgium, Portugal, the Netherlands,
China,
all those, China,
Japan.
and I guess the United States too, but all those except Germany. Germany was not included in this because they already had their own things they had to do with it, which included like paying back their money and stuff, which we already talked about. But basically, what it was is all these countries came together and they said, you know what we're going to do is we're going to agree we're not going to have any more wars, we're not going to have any conflicts for the next 10 years. We're not going to build up any naval ships, battleships, things like that over the next 10 years, just to stop all like things of conflict from coming up. We're just going to not do any of that. That's just basically what it was.
So is that what led to the London naval treaties?
Yep, that's all. The London Naval Treaties, the Kellogg-Briand Pact. That's what all that was. It's all them just signing this thing and agreeing on it.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So anyways, thank you guys for watching episode 1. There will be many more. Tune back, and it's been real.
It's been fun.
But it hasn't been real fun.
Bye.